This is the Men's Room podcast where relief is your duty and your innate self is welcome. I'm your host, Ish Mendoza, and I'm thankful that you're here. Very, very thankful that you're here. Today is a different kind of episode. It's just me, and there's an added element of video. And so I wanted to take an opportunity to kind of give you some updates, as well as continue to make some content. You know, I really am passionate about this podcast thing, and in an effort to not lose traction, I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of speak my mind and keep you all afloat of what's going on. I wrote some things down, so if I'm referencing some of the notes and specifics about the details of how I'm communicating today, please bear with me. But I'm just, I'm very, very grateful to be here on this earth and with you all. On the afternoon of Wednesday, October 4th, 2023, at about 4:30 p.m., I went to the emergency room after a couple of days with chest pain. Now, what I wrote off as acid reflux, or at worst, a panic attack, shockingly was actually a heart attack that I was suffering from. And it wasn't just any heart attack, it was a life-threatening heart attack that is commonly known as the Widowmaker. What is that? A Widowmaker heart attack happens when you have full blockage in the heart's biggest artery. So that means blood can't move through the left anterior descending artery, which is something that provides about 50% of the entire heart muscle's blood supply. So here's what happened to me. It all started 2 days earlier. So on that prior Monday evening, it was an evening not unlike a typical Monday. My family and I were having dinner, and it was just a really uneventful night. And after dinner, what I thought was heartburn didn't shock or alarm me at all. It, especially given that I had just eaten a burrito and had some salsa and some jalapenos with that. So I took some antacids, I took some Tums, and called it a night. Continued about my normal evening routine. Nothing shocking, nothing alarming. The next day was also a pretty seemingly normal day. I worked, I spent time with the family, I did chores, I relaxed, etc. Now, the sensation of acid reflux not only remained, but intensified. So I went to get some Nexium to better treat the discomfort that I was feeling. Now that night, overnight, the discomfort became pain, and so much so that it woke me up and kept me up since about 4:30 in the morning. But my Wednesday was full, so I didn't stop working, running errands, making calls, etc. Now, that afternoon, the pain had become intensified and unbearable. So I was certain that I was having a panic attack. I went for a little walk down the street and tried to breathe through it, but it didn't help. It actually made me a little dizzy, and it worsened. If you've ever felt a panic attack, maybe you've had the sensation that you're feeling like you're dying, and that's exactly how I was feeling. I felt like I was dying, and I was certain that my body, this was the way that I was just reacting to stress and anxiety. And in a way, it sort of was, only it wasn't a panic attack, it was much worse. So when I returned from my walk and feeling like my chest was just on fire, I clung to my wife. I just held on to her, and I said, I don't know what's wrong with me, but whatever it is, I just want to be around for my boys. Little did I know that that feeling was a sense of impending doom, and I was experiencing that sensation within myself. Impending doom is a medical symptom that consists of an intense feeling that something is life-threatening or tragic, and it's about to occur, even despite the unknown. So having the sensation of just like, I don't know what's going on with me, but feeling such an urgency. My wife, being the awesome nurse that she is, at this point knew that it was serious. So she calmly but intensely urged that I go to the emergency room. So I packed a backpack with a book, a sweater, and my little retro gaming device, with the assumption that I was just going to be in the ER for lots of hours, only to be told that it's all in my head. On our way to the hospital, I started feeling a little better, but I fought the urge to tell my wife to turn the car back around and return home. It was a fight that I would surely lose anyway. So on we went, and she dropped me off right in front of the hospital. I kissed my wife, said my goodbyes to my boys, casually. So casually. And I never expected that goodbye could have been my very last goodbye. But thank God it wasn't. It wasn't my last goodbye. When I arrived at the hospital, I continued to be in excruciating pain, so I registered myself and told the staff the symptoms that I was experiencing, which was shortness of breath and chest pain. Felt like my chest was caving in, that somebody was just pushing against my sternum, and I couldn't control it. So about a minute or two later, I was directed to wait off to the side of the waiting room to have an EKG to record my heart's electric signal. Now, typically, the next steps after that is to be triaged by a nurse. But not for me. Almost immediately, a doctor came and found me, and the medical team pointed me out of the crowd. And I remember it vividly. I can hear her voice saying, "Mr. Mendoza, this right here," she was pointing to the EKG results. "This right here is very concerning. We need to bring you back immediately." So yeah, out came the wheelchair, and back I went. It seemed to happen super fast. It just all came about like in an instant. I was brought back to the procedure room and immediately placed on this table and surrounded by a team of doctors, nurses, and technicians, all of whom were placing monitoring pads and poking my veins for blood work and IV insertions and giving me medication and asking me a ton of questions about the current condition that I was in. The first doctor introduced himself and he asked me a series of questions. He said, "Mr. Mendoza, are you a smoker?" To which I replied, "No, I've last had a cigar maybe 9 months ago and a cigarette maybe once or twice in my life and probably 15, 20 years ago, so I'm not a smoker." And then he asked, do you take any hard drugs? Do you meth, cocaine, heroin? And I was like, "No, I've never touched this stuff." And so I was baffled a little bit, but I said, I have had cannabis, but very, very seldom and usually in edible form. And he's like, "No, it's not what I was referring to." And so really still unsure of how I was in my current condition based on the answers that I had provided. He then asked me about my family history. He said, "Do you have a history of heart disease in your family at all?" And this is where it fit the bill for me. So this is exactly where it resonated with me. So I said, "Yes, indeed, I have heart disease on both sides of the family, various levels of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and even heart failure." And so the doctor he then asked me something that immediately shook me. He said, has anyone that has experienced that in your family, have they ever had a heart attack at a young age, under the age of 40? And I told him, I said, no one has ever had a heart attack under the age of 40. I've had grandparents that suffered heart attacks, uncles that suffered heart attacks, but later in life. And so this was the moment that my nervousness changed into fear. And from that point, they ran another EKG just to confirm that my heart was performing abnormally. And then they immediately took action. So they got on the phone with the cardiologist and gave me some pain medication just to help alleviate some of the stress that I was feeling. And I remember the words. So the doctor said, Mr. Mendoza, right now we're treating this as a heart attack. I can still hear the doctor's voice utter those words, and terrifyingly so. When I had first arrived to the ER, I had been texting my wife just kind of some small updates, expecting really just to kind of keep her informed about what time she'll have needed to pick me up. And, after an uneventful discharge. But so I first texted her, letting her know that I was registered and that they wanted to have an EKG scheduled. And in a matter of 10 minutes, I was looking through my text history. In a matter of 10 minutes, I changed my text from just giving her small updates to urging her to pray, and just letting her know how scared I was, being surrounded by doctors. And it just seemed to happen so fast, but I'm actually really thankful that it did. I'm really thankful that it happened as fast as it did and when it did, because who knows what would have come. So at that point, they rushed me up to the catheterization lab, which is a procedural area in the hospital. And I remember staring up at the bright hospital lights and taking the elevator up a few floors, and it just kind of felt like a dream. I was then transferred from my bed to this very, very white-colored, brightly lit procedure examination table. And I was prepped for the procedure. So I was terrified, and I was just asking a bunch of questions. I said, are you going to open my chest up? I've never been under anesthesia. Will I wake up from that? And then I asked, am I going to be okay? Am I going to die? And if so, can you call my wife and tell her that I love her? Call my boys and tell them that Daddy loves them. But the amazing staff at a community regional medical center downtown Fresno was really reassuring, and they let me know that they would be taking excellent care of me, and this is what they do. This is the best place I could have been at the time I was there, and they did. They took excellent care of me. After a few minutes of preparation, I was ready for the procedure, and so I had what's called an angioplasty, and a stent through the radial artery in my right wrist. So they went in, and it's a procedure where it's a method that they use to treat coronary artery issues like mine. And so they threaded this long, thin tube called the catheter. They threaded it all the way through my artery in my wrist, directly into my heart. And so essentially what took place is this balloon at the end of the catheter, which was used to fully open up the blocked artery in my heart. So they then inserted a stent to keep my artery open. And what a stent is it's a small little mesh kind of device that it's made of metal, and it acts like a support, almost like a scaffold to open up and remain inside the vessel to keep the flow. Now at this point I was pretty heavily sedated, but I was still conscious enough to witness the incredible care and attention to detail that my cardiologist and his team were giving me during that time. I can feel kind of the insertion of things going into my veins and whatnot, and they saved my life. They literally saved my life. After the procedure, I spent a few additional days in the hospital, and they just ran lots of tests and monitored my heart closely. They reviewed my work, my blood work, my lab work, and they just examined me thoroughly, made sure that I was well enough, after all of this. And so my wife was by my side every day and the entire time that I was there at the hospital, and I regained enough strength to kind of help myself do some of the necessary tasks that I would have needed to be discharged. And finally, after a couple of days, they then discharged me from the hospital, and I got back home to see my family. Now, this part, I didn't write down some of the notes because I just wanted to talk through, speak from the heart, as it were, to think about what was going through my head. Some of the questions that I thought about was like what went through my mind during this procedure. And there was a lot. I feared death. I really did. I didn't know what was to come. I didn't know how to react. And as a result, I was calling upon the name of Jesus, asking him to take care of me and see me through, and asking God to just, so my prayers changed from save me to, if this is my time, Lord, just take care of my family. Make sure my boys remember me for who I was and who I tried to be. And so this weird shift in me that was scared for death just kind of accepted to see what, if it was my time, it was my time. But it wasn't my time. It wasn't my time to go. There's so much more life now to live. And I remember the moment that I got to see Tammy, my wife, after the procedure, and she was frantically I had been texting her, and she just did everything she possibly could to get to the place when I was allowed to move from the cath lab to recovery. And she was there, and I remember looking into her eyes and just being so grateful that I got to see her again. And just like this stupid little petty shit, like the stuff we argue about that's just so insignificant, and in that moment, just to see my wife's face again was bliss, just blessing. And after I got discharged, I get to see my little boys, Jasper and Silas. I'm just so grateful for my family that helped, during the hospital visits and everything as well. But when I got to see my little boys, they didn't even know what was going on. Silas just knew that Daddy was sick and he was at the hospital. And just the innocence, like you might even hear Jasper in the background from this podcast, but how I long just to come back home to these troublemakers, just to be bothered by the things that stressed me out, and to count it all as just a blessing, to know that curiosity and chaos comes in this, and they're one and the same with these boys. How has this changed my outlook and my faith? Modern medicine, the advancement of medications and procedures and folks that are skilled, it's a gift from God. Life is a gift from God. And every day, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the gift that I've been given, and so it's hard to put into words. I'm just so grateful. It solidified my faith. Any doubt, any struggle, any wrestling is just it's confirmed. God is good, and this experience has just been so eye-opening for me, and it's changed my perspective. I've got a lot of health things that I'm focused on, wellness and health, but more so than that, there's a lot of just life, morality, and legacy, and virtue, and valor that I want to be very mindful of in this new season of my life, this second chance that I've been given. So I've got a ton of goals. I've got a ton of health goals and wellness goals and weight loss and different ways that I'm trying to achieve these things. But more than anything, I just want to be a man that's known for his generosity and his love, and it's just the way he takes care of his people. And that in itself is a lesson that is so valuable, and I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for the opportunity to live, and I'm not going to squander that opportunity. So, what happens next? What does this mean for me moving forward here? So, kind of give you some of the background of the things that led up to this procedure. So as a result of the way my heart had to work extra hard, and the extra work that my heart undertook leading up to and during the heart attack that I suffered from, it's going to be a long recovery journey for me. the hope and the expectation, my expectation and the expectation of the doctors is that the damage to my heart will gradually get better, and that means just continual wellness decisions and treatment that I'm taking now. So right now I'm on a lot of daily medications, some of which I'll continually have to take forever, some of which that will be hopefully reduced after improvement. And so now I've also adopted a really heart-healthy diet and gradual exercise routine as well. I can't fully go out and run a marathon yet, but maybe one day that'll be something that I'm looking forward to at this point. I'm also still being closely monitored by my healthcare team very, very often. So that means a lot of doctor's visits, a lot of blood work and labs and echocardiograms and things like that have to be taken regularly. And so finally, also one of the more important things for me that greatly affected a lot of my sensation was stress management. This is a big one for me because I struggle with not feeling stressed. I'm a very stressed out guy in a lot of ways. Don't let the not fully gray hair fool you yet, because it'll be very, very gray here pretty soon. So it's a very important, pivotal mindset for me to have moving forward here. So I'd love to know from you all. I'm looking forward to hearing about ways that you ease your mind and mend your hearts with the stress-free things that you do. So I'm all ears. Let me know what works for you, and let's continue to have these conversations as well. What advice would I give to what I have for others here moving forward? Now, for me, the biggest reason I had a heart attack was it boiled down to genetics. And so my family history of heart disease really played a major factor in the reason why my body was affected at 38 years old, so young. And but it wasn't the only factor. Admittedly, my eating habits, my sedentary activity levels, and caffeine intake, indulgent consumptions, and high stress and anxiety. I was never doing myself any favors. I'm not doing myself any favors. So my choices have to be better. My daily choices, my intentional choices have to be better for myself and for my family. I want to urge you all that if you have something similar in your family history, I want to urge you to talk to your doctor about it. Get your cholesterol tested. Find out if your high blood pressure is affecting you. That's some advice I would have. If you fall into that category, don't dismiss it and make good choices from a healthy standpoint, but your morals as well, healthy and morally. When you have the opportunity to make a choice, choose the right one. Don't let the insignificant things stress you out. I may just hear all the background noise that I got stressed out before, and just take it as such a joy, music to my ears. My little boys that are all over the place are just curious and imaginative, and so what a blessing that is. What a blessing it is to see something and look at it in a positive light. The arguments that you have means that you and your spouse, your loved ones, they're passionate about you. They love you relentlessly. Listen to your body. If you feel pain or panic or discomfort, don't dismiss it, thinking that you may just want to rub dirt on it. As men, we often struggle with that as well. Don't dismiss it. Listen to your body. Take care of yourself. And in turn, love relentlessly. Tell your loved ones how much you love them, and tell them as often as you can. If you leave the room, if you go away, and life is so precious. You never know, that may be the last time you get to tell them that you love them. So show them and tell them how much you love them. Give your time and your finances when you can. And give your heart. Don't be afraid to take chances and take risks. Because in the long run, what is it all for if not to be known as a giver? Have faith. Have faith in God, in yourself, in your future. Leave a legacy. Think about that. Think about the ways in which you can today be a person that has a legacy of life. And go live that life. Do the things that you maybe are scared to do now. Take the risks. Try the business venture. Try the extreme thing that you may have been afraid to do. And be thankful. I am thankful. Every day is a gift, and live your life accordingly, and enjoy this precious gift, this gift of life that we have been given. I am thankful to still be here and to be around to continue to hopefully inspire others, maybe with the story, but just to be the person, the man of valor, the man of a great legacy that I know that I'm called to be. And may this be a reminder for you to continue to be that person that you know you can be. With a heavy heart and a heart full of love, I'm just thankful that I'm able to record this episode for you all, kind of give you some insight on the specifics of what happened to me. I had a heart attack, but I'm still here. There's still so much life to live. And I'm very, very blessed and very, very thankful that I have the opportunity to live and live abundantly. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, this is the Men's Room, where relief is your duty and your innate self is welcome.